Hello everyone. Well, college starts next week, and being that I have a house, have a job, and now I'm going to be a full-time student on top of it, despite the subject I'm studying being interesting, I am less than excited, to say the least, about going back to school because, the reality of that is that it will be a lot of work to juggle all of these responsibilities. So I kind of wanted to spice it up, help me go back with a pleasant attitude, and I achieved it with this pen. After a few days of research on my free time, I actually didn't find this on any list or really on any YouTube review. They do exist, but I didn't find it there. I stumbled across this entirely on accident and realized immediately that this is exactly what I needed. So my old everyday carry pen that's been, my everyday carry for, I think, a couple years now, is this Parker Jotter. It's a special edition. I don't know if they still make it or not. And if you haven't ever written with a Parker Jotter, you really should at least just grab one from somebody and just do. I mean, that is the best part about the whole thing, is that. So, that being said, it is very light, and it has a gel cartridge from Parker in it, but I mean, it doesn't write as nice as this does. I've also used these since like middle school, so, and I'm 25. I'm just kind of tired of the design. So I found this. It's a Machine Era Company classic pen, and it's heavy, and I mean substantially heavy in comparison to the Jotter, but not too heavy to write with. To me, this is the perfect amount of weight where it's not too light or too heavy. It's what you want for like long periods of writing, and we'll do a little size comparison, I suppose, if we compare these two. So, without being capped, this Machine Era Classic is actually slightly smaller and slightly fatter. And then, of course, we can dig into it here. So, this is the pen. Absolutely wonderful machining done, and it's made of solid brass, so I suspect that this is going to patina very nicely. I'm very excited to see how that goes. If you uncap the pen, put this on the back, and we'll get into the back of this pen in just a minute, but this is it. It's very comfortable to write with. I've done a significant amount of that already to test it. And in comparison for size, now it's significantly bigger. And it is just, like I said, the perfect balance. Now, I want to talk about the threads here just a little bit. Now, this is an incredibly well-made pen, also made in the United States, so that's another plus. But the threads are absolutely perfect. The pen machined perfectly. However, there is room for error with the back. I don't know what they could do to correct this without making this pen just longer, but when you put it on the front, it lines itself up and you can just mindlessly screw it on. With the back, not so much. There is room to accidentally cross-thread this pen, and so you do have to think about it a little bit, but honestly, as long as you just don't mindlessly and violently try to screw the cap back on, you're not going to cross-thread it. It's not that bad. But yeah, you would definitely not want to cross-thread here, because otherwise you're just not capping this pen anymore. So that is one downside. But it is literally the only flaw with this pen, and like I said, it's not that bad. It's not. You don't have to overthink it too much. See, that was relatively painless to put that on. Another thing that's really awesome about this pen is it can take a variety of cartridges. I know it can even take Mont Blanc cartridges. However, it comes shipped with a Pilot G2 cartridge, which is already awesome, because if you've ever written with a G2 pen, you know it's an ugly pen, a cheap pen, but it writes great, and it writes so much better in a competent body like this. So it comes shipped with one of those. I swapped it out for a G2 Bold. So I have these. Definitely get a few of these if you're going to run with G2 bolds, because you are going to go through this ink fast. But that's what I swapped it out with, which is exactly what I wanted. And so, I mean, again, there's no mechanical moving parts in this, so you're going to unscrew this here. And then, tough to do this when you're looking through a camera. And then here we are, comes out. So pretty simple. Something to note, these threads go a long way. So when you're screwing this back in, you're going to screw it in, screw it in, screw it in, until you feel a little resistance, and then maybe do 2 short little screws further, and that's it, because you're putting weight on the cartridge. So if you just if you crank this down, you're going to crack your cartridge, and then you're going to have a leaky pen. So be understanding of that. I think that was probably because, they wanted this to accept a multitude of cartridges, which are, of course, a multitude of sizes. So there's a little wiggle room in there for tightness levels. So let's get into the writing here. My handwriting is terrible, but we will write with it nonetheless. Very smooth. Absolutely perfect weight for long-term writing, as you can see. I mean, I don't have small hands, I don't have massive hands either. Fits rather nicely. There's no sharpness to it. Even the threads, they're comfortable. They don't hurt. They're not gonna. I've written long-term with this. I did a lot of testing last night. It's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Everything you need from an everyday carry, especially if you're going to school. The writing, nice. Really, really, really nice. So this is definitely a perfect everyday carry pen. I love this. This I will probably carry for the rest of my life. I absolutely love this. I couldn't recommend it more. The only flaw, like I said, is just gonna be this part here that you have to think about it a little bit before you actually screw it on, but it's not that bad, and I don't know what they could do to fix that. So, what do I mean by everyday carry pen? Well, I mean, this was $38 shipped. So it's not breaking the bank. It's reliable. It accepts commonly found cartridges. It writes nicely. So this, it's tough. It's not an entire crime if it gets a couple of scratches in it. It's not a huge loss if it gets lost or stolen. Of course, I don't want that to happen, and I don't think it will, but it's just perfect for every day for those reasons, And unlike something like my vintage Schaefer Prelude, which is, they don't make this pen anymore. The company I don't even think is American anymore. It's a fountain pen on top of it with a custom cursive italic nib. This pen was expensive, and there isn't another one like it. This would be a rather large loss if it got lost or stolen, and I certainly wouldn't want it covered in scratches. So this is perfect for at home. Some people will take these out and use these in the world, and that's awesome. That's great for them. But I personally would rather use this at home for really, really nice writing on nice paper. And of course, on top of it, this, it's a fountain pen with a medium nib. It's going to bleed through regular printer paper, and it's not even going to write very well. It'll skip on plasticky paper. This pen will write on anything. So if you're looking for a solid everyday carry, daily driver, hardworking, and beautiful pen, I really recommend this. I absolutely love it, and I may make a long-term update in the future just to talk about the patina and my further thoughts, but I've already done a significant amount of testing, and it's got one flaw right there, and that's it. Absolutely love it. Catch you guys later.